Thank you very much. First, I want to thank our previous panelists. I was quite impressed. Our next panelists, in very different ways, have important perspectives to offer because His Majesty King Abdullah of Jordan and Queen Rania were here for the first CGI. President Michelle Bachelet of Chile was here for the second one in her first go-round as president. We're going to begin with the announcement of some new commitments relating to Jordan. I have been worried for several months, as soon as really for the last couple of years, because of the conflict in Syria now spreading into Iraq and what it has done to Jordan nearby. Jordan already had a significant number of refugees from Egypt and was already a majority Palestinian country. When the conflict in Syria resulted in a massive outflow of refugees affecting Iraq, Turkey, and Lebanon, to be sure, but having the biggest impact on Jordan, particularly relative to the size of its country. All of a sudden they had, the most conservative estimate, 600,000 refugees, but maybe many, many more than that. Keep in mind, this is a country that has no oil of its own, that had concessionary natural gas contracts with Egypt to fund its energy needs that were lost in the upheaval there, and because of the interruption of the supply chain have not been restored. Meanwhile, they got plenty of aid, but just to feed the people who were there. Nothing to deal with the question of what do you do if you're a little country and you have your own internal political challenges to deal with, and you're trying to liberalize, open the country, make it freer, open opportunities for women, and 600,000 people show up at your doorstep, and you don't put them in camps. You try to put them in villages. And people are very nice about writing you checks to take care of them, but where are the jobs? What about the future? How about the infrastructure? What about the people who don't ever get to go home? How will they be integrated? And what would be the calamitous consequences in the Middle East if this country failed for doing the right thing, being the right kind of people, believing in inclusive societies? And everybody said, thank you very much, but we're too busy worrying about other things. So I asked the king to discuss with his government the prospect of coming up with a plan that the rest of the world could contribute to. And a few months ago, we had our first CGI group meeting on Jordan, like we did on Haiti way back in 2009. And as a result of that, some commitments have already been made. It is just the beginning. I want this to be a multi-year effort by our partners and people we can recruit to make something good happen in Jordan. We have very little power to stop the bad things in the world from happening that go beyond health and the absence of educational opportunity and what we can do in climate change on our own. But we can make a lot of good things happen. Jordan is a country that stands for the right things, is trying to do the right things, and we have to make more good things happen there. We can't say to people, thank you very much for taking this terrible problem for us, but we're worried about other things. We just can't do it. So I want to thank in advance the commitment makers, but just say all of us here in this room and thoughtful citizens around the world owe a debt of gratitude to the leaders, the government, and the people of Jordan for the burden they have assumed in the aftermath of the Syrian conflict. And this is some small way of beginning to repay that debt and doing what is clearly in the interest of the Middle East and all the rest of us. Thank you. In the camps that do exist, there's not enough sanitation. In the refugees that are integrated into communities, sometimes it works well, but sometimes they're just shanty towns and nomadic communities. Over the past several months, the King and his government, I think, have displayed extraordinary leadership. So I would like to ask King Abdullah to come out first and ask you to welcome him, and then we will announce these commitments and bring the commitment makers to the stage, the beginning of our long-term commitment. And I want to thank the Ford Foundation and Darren Walker for hosting the first of these meetings a couple of months ago. So, Your Majesty, please join me on the stage. So, I want to invite to the stage Heather Shapter of Blue Drop Performance Learning, Morten Albeck of Vestas Wind Systems, the world's largest producer, a great Danish company, Majid Kadumi of Medtronic, Michael Ninais of AmeriCare, Nancy Aosi of International Medical Corps, Dario Rustanian of Pelosio Spa, and Scott Jackson of Global Impact. Blue Drop Performance Learning will train thousands of people to have access to new job skills and tools for small business success. Vestas, Medtronic, International Medical, Massimo, and AmeriCare have all committed to address the growing demand for energy and health services in Jordan. I know I'm a broken record on this. Jordan has no oil. Jordan was importing its gas. We should solarize and windize the country and help them get universal electricity in a way that will promote further economic expansion. I want to thank the particular focus on women and girls who bear the brunt of infection and disease by the International Medical Corps. Pelosio Spa has worked to create easily deployable school structures to address the serious issue of overcrowding affecting Jordan and other countries with large refugee populations as well. These types of education efforts complement others already in progress, such as the commitment last year to support Syrian scholars made by President Sampaio and the Institute for International Education. This work is just the beginning, but the members of our working group have carried on in the true spirit of CGI, and I'm really impressed with what they've done, grateful for what they've done, and I ask you first to join me and the King in thanking them, and second, to think about ways in which you might join them. Thank you very much. Let's go get 'em.